So, I've seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Um, it, it was something of multiverse. And a little madness, I suppose, but I guess I'm somewhere in the middle on this one. I don't see it as this horrific failure, but it's not that great of a movie. It's not as good as the first Doctor Strange, and it's completely, well, maybe not completely, but it's, well, pretty close to being dependent on the WandaVision TV show, which they deliberately sabotaged. It's connected to Doctor Strange, but they took him out because he was white and male. So, of course, I was very concerned about how certainly Doctor Strange himself would be treated in his own movie. And from a lot of the teases and trailers and whatnot, I thought, golly, is he just going to be a guest star in his own movie? That's not the case. He's not. Wanda, of course, is very important because, spoilers, she's the villain. She's the villain of the film. I thought they might reveal someone else. Maybe we would finally get Mephisto. No, unless there's some Easter eggs. A lot of stuff goes by very quickly, and I'm sure at a later date there's plenty of Easter eggs to pick up on for this. I think I saw the Living Tribunal briefly there when Doctor Strange and America Chavez were traveling through the dimensions and stuff, and all that. But the jumping off point is from the WandaVision show. It's the motivation for why Wanda's doing what she's doing, and so you needed to see it to understand that. But they ruined that show, which could have been really good with this nonsense. How much wokeism is actually in this film? Not really a whole lot. I mean, we're in the era of woke, and we've seen it destroy franchises and lay them low for no good reason at all. We've seen this bizarre attempt at lecturing about bigotry by being bigoted, and all that type of nonsense. For instance, there's no "let's take on white privilege" line in it and that sort of thing. There's none of that. A lot of people would look at America Chavez as a woke character. Not really. She was originally supposed to be this sort of like legacy character of a, World War II era character that Marvel or Timely Comics rather had, called just simply Miss America. And she, I think, married the Wizard, which was their version of the Flash and all that. And they fought side by side with the original Captain America and all that stuff in the war. And then the name went kind of dormant, I guess. And then they resurrected it for this new character and just gave her the name America, so it makes sense. She is literally Miss America. And but she has these powers, which the main one is she can punch her way into other universes. Apparently she was just a sort of okay character initially, but later on they had to turn her into a hateful bigot and call that cool. She's not that whatsoever in this film. There's nothing particularly spectacular about her, but she's not annoying or irritating, and in some cases she's rather likable. So it's fine. And Doctor Strange does save her. There's a lot of this stuff that he's just there for the ride and all the women do everything. Not really. And there is a point that they make where Wanda ends up stopping herself. She came from being a heroic character, and she's in this dark place, and through the narrative she becomes corrupted by the Darkhold book, which is this book of spells you're never supposed to read. Well, she read it. And she's overwhelmed with her desire to have her children back, despite the fact that they never really existed. That was from the fantasy world she created in the WandaVision show. Seems she's given up on getting Vision back, though. Yeah, of all these other guys getting cameos, you would have thought he would show up, but no. And she's over him. She just wants the kids. And and that's the plot. She discovers the multiverse through dreams, and that's one of those ideas that, oh, when you're dreaming, you're seeing what's going on in an alternate reality of your other self, and that's sort of thing. So every dream is that, and so she realized there is a universe out there where her children are real, and so she's determined to go get them. And but she can't get there, so she's using demonic forces to chase America Chavez into her universe so she can steal her powers. But if she steals her powers, America Chavez dies. So, Doctor Strange is trying to talk her out of this. She won't listen. She's determined to do this because she wants her children, and she's broken. And they touch on similar things in Temptations that Doctor Strange would have himself. He's lost Christine, from the previous movie, the girlfriend woman he loved, and she's getting married, or she got married in the movie. He's at the wedding and everything, and she's moved on, and he keeps running into that when he goes through the multiverse, and he actually does come upon a version of himself who used the Darkhold in an attempt to find a version of the universe where he and Christine got together and they were happy, and so that's that's the temptation for Doctor Strange. So it's more of an exploration of what the Darkhold can do. It can grant all this power, but there's a heavy price for it. To tell you the truth, the plot of this was much better explored in the What If cartoon, which most of those cartoons I didn't care for. Some of them, there was a couple of them that was kind of okay. Some of them were very stupid. But the Doctor Strange episode about him when another alternate reality where Christine died, and he keeps trying to prevent that death and make her live, and what it does to him. And I thought he was going to meet that guy in here. The guy he meets, I don't think so, because that cartoon concludes with what happens to him. But a similar thing that it looks like happened to this Doctor Strange that he meets. And, you can't just mess with the Darkhold unscathed, which Doctor Strange ends up having to do, the main one. And that's why the movie ends on a cliffhanger as far as, this narrative. So that's the lesson, but it's a mirror, or it's just a further exploration of what it's done to Wanda and all that. But there were some of these ideas that she's a sympathetic character, and for what she's been through, that never worked. It didn't work in the TV show, and now it's compounded beyond reproach. There's no redemption for Wanda here. Seemingly she dies at the end, but you don't really see her die, so I suppose they could say she survived. And they utilize some names and places and stuff from the comics. She's at Wundagore, mountain or whatever it was. I seem to recall that the High Evolutionary had a lab there, and he was creating people and all that sort of stuff. Not so much a magic place, but also I think Magneto had a lair there at one point or time, and that sort of thing. And I was wondering, because they didn't really do a reshape of the universe type story here, to where I thought, so now they can introduce the mutants and all that stuff, and somehow there would be some tie-in for Wanda and Magneto, which in the comics he's her father. But I suppose in a roundabout weird way they would do it. Maybe he's not really, but whatever, and explain all that in it. But they didn't really do that. They just showed you that there's another universe where you meet these other. So Professor Xavier shows up. The trailer revealed that, so you knew Patrick Stewart would be in there, and he's riding around in his floating wheelchair thing. That's not really a wheelchair, I guess, because it floats, but it looks like the one from the the 90s cartoon X-Men. And then of course Reed Richards, which the fan favorite for playing Reed Richards was John Krasinski, so it's John Krasinski playing the role. And that's about it. That's the one thing. There's no Tom Cruise Iron Man or any of that stuff, which would have been cool for him to be there. but it's basically Doctor Strange goes to a world where it's the Illuminati, and it's more or less the members of it. The original members were Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, Prince Namor, and Iron Man was there. Well, they didn't have those there. They had Peggy Carter as Captain Carter. So they had her there. I guess they say, oh, there's your woke moment, because he's there. And they end up having to defend their secret fortress, or whatever it is, from Wanda as she charges in. And there's this big spectacular battle with her, with these alternate universe versions of Captain Marvel, which is played by Lashana Lynch. I would have thought it would be the actress who plays Monica Rambeau, but I guess in their version of the world, she ended up becoming Captain Marvel instead of Carol Danvers, I guess. I don't know. So he still can't quite get there. I guess in the Marvels movie, finally Monica will be, she probably won't get the name Captain Marvel, even though she probably should. Because that's one of the stupid things. The wokeness and whatnot was all superficial. They didn't really know anything. They didn't know that there had already been a female Captain Marvel, and she was black. Way back in the 80s. Yeah, this is one of those dumb things. But she's there, and I think that they have Black Bolt there, and he looks like Black Bolt. They got him in the suit and everything, and I couldn't quite tell. I guess that was Anson Mount in the suit. I don't know. But is he in badly? They just kind of make it something of a joke. But I mean, it is in keeping with what Wanda's powers are. But that's one of the things. Wanda is so powerful, and she wipes out an army of Ultron robots, and then she takes on the Illuminati people. And really the only one who had a chance against her was Captain Marvel. So she defeats both Reed Richards and Black Bolt pretty quickly and easily. And then she struggles with Captain Carter. Now, I'm sorry, but no, she wouldn't. Captain Carter was no match for Scarlet Witch. And yet, she goes toe-to-toe for a while, and then eventually Scarlet Witch kills her. And then finally, the final battle is with Captain Marvel, and she kills her too. So they're all wiped out, and she chases Doctor Strange. Charles Xavier, they give him a little more what to do. He probes into her mind and almost free, because what she does is she's possessing her alternate universe self, who's completely innocent in all of this, and forces her to kill all these people she's known in her universe, which they kind of just ignore. So she's fighting off, you possess this woman to do it, and so to try to stop her from what she's doing, Professor X goes into her mind and finds the psyche of of his Wanda, and tries to help her. As if he could free her, then the spell breaks and she's no longer possessed. Well, he fails to do this. Wanda kills him. So that's right. Not knockout, not depower, nothing like that. She's just slaughtering people all over the place. There's no redemption here. And another member of this version of the Illuminati is Baron Mordo. He's there. And that's another thing where they had this fight, and Doctor Strange is shackled with some sort of power dampening shackles, so he can't use his powers. And he pisses off Mordo. Mordo is acting like he always had a friendly relationship with his Doctor Strange, but it turns out no, he was just as jealous of him as the other. And so he lures him into a fight, but Mordo has all his powers, so I don't think that fight would have gone very far. But whatever, so eventually, he beats him, and that's that. So anyway, Doctor Strange is on the run with another version of Christine, and then he gets back with America, and they're being chased by Scarlet Witch, who and a lot of the horror movie elements work here for what she's doing, and she's using witchcraft and spells and all that stuff, and so she increasingly, Wanda looks increasingly monstrous as she's doing all this and that sort of thing. And then there's the there's another book that they need to get, which would have the spells to deal with, but they can't get it. Wanda manages to destroy it once they find it in this other dimension and all that sort of stuff. And she manages to capture America, and Doctor Strange's got to figure out how to get back to her. Well, the only way is to use the Darkhold from his other self, who's already used it and destroyed his whole universe. It's all messed up and everything. And he has to use it in order to use the same spell that Wanda used to possess her other self, so he has to possess one of his other selves, but he doesn't have another self except a dead one, because at the beginning of the movie you're introduced to another version of Doctor Strange who's seemingly helping America, but at the last minute he decides he needs to just kill her and take her power so he can keep it safe. And so, but he ends up getting killed. So his corpse is in the normal MCU, so Doctor Strange becomes Zombie Strange by possessing the corpse. And there's a lot of cool stuff where there's a price to pay for that. A bunch of, I don't know, smoky demons or jinn or whatever try to attack him, but he isn't able to take them over and use them. And he once again fights Wanda and all that. But eventually none of that works. He gets beaten back. Wong's there. He gets beaten back. And then eventually Zombie Strange is telling America to use her power, and she's, I don't know how, and he says, yeah, you do, and you have to believe in yourself, so pep talk, you know. And so of course she begins to understand how to use her power, but it's still not enough to defeat Wanda. And so she finally decides she would open up a doorway to the universe that Wanda wants to go to, where the kids are, and so dumps her right there in it. And of course the kids are horrified, and that's when she finally realizes what a monster she's become. And the good Wanda, who's the one she possessed and everything, is all cleaned up and, you know, seems to be perfectly fine. Even though she was forced to murder a bunch of her friends, you know, other superheroes. And so, well, so then, oh, gee, I was wrong all along, and decides to destroy the Wonder Gore place, which, besides the Darkhold book, was just a copy of the writings that are on the walls of this Wonder Gore place, so she has to destroy it, so, you know, it can't be used again. And then apparently she did a spell that destroys every copy of the Darkhold throughout the multiverse, which, boy, that's going to take a while, you know. Infinity and all. But so that's supposedly the ultimate end of Wanda, unless they say, she escaped, she's, you know, Magneto finds her, or whatever version of the X-Men they'll do. So yeah, I think that was the last outing for Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier, and even though, well, he died in Logan, yeah, but this is some other alternate universe version of him, so it's not the same one you saw in the Fox films and all that. As for Reed Richards, well, it would be cool if they go forward with Krasinski. This version of him died at the hands of WandaVision in this story, so who knows if we could get an actual Fantastic Four that, you know, is the Fantastic Four. But it'll probably just be a 4, and you can just forget about the Fantastic part, maybe, I don't know. So yeah, so there's weaknesses there about, you know, things could have worked out, and it's kind of odd that you do it this way and that, and you don't notice how easy it would have been to kill Strange, or how easy it would have been to defeat Wanda here and there. I mean, Wanda's whole motivation, and it's just she's completely crazy, but suddenly you just have to go with the shock of the children's faces, and it's kind of like, what do you think? She's, oh, they'll never know. Yeah, well, they did, and so it was all a waste of time. That's the way it goes. Now, apparently, there's 30 minutes of extra footage that was cut out, so I'm guessing perhaps they'll release an extended cut, probably on D+ or something like that. And I would have to wonder if it's more of a tour of the multiverse, because for the cameos and whatnot, yeah, it's interesting, but it's not that big of a deal. Nothing like what you would have thought, that everybody was guessing who would be in it, and stuff that it could go further into explaining it and to take advantage of it to do reboots and whatnot. But no, they didn't do any of that. So that was about it. So anyway, there's fun stuff in it. There's enough, it's just sort of okay. It's not great. It's got stupid things in it, but it's just not, Last Jedi level bad or something like that. There's some people talking about it like that, and I just don't see it. And as far as Wanda, she doesn't really save herself. I mean, really, the kids are the ones. Their reaction to her is what stops the whole, evil plot that she was embarking on. And then that's basically all that was. And then that was about it. A lot of it was, hey, look who's here. It's Patrick Stewart and stuff like that. And, well, okay. And yeah, that was about it. And it's a bit of a letdown because it's nowhere near as good as the first one. And it's not so much. I don't think it takes away from the character journey that Stephen Strange has in the first one. Doctor Strange is always going to have that edge of arrogance about him, and it's just something he's going to have to struggle with, and that sort of thing. I don't think it's to the point, where he's completely forgotten all the lessons he learned and that sort of thing. And he is a bit of a guide and a mentor figure to this girl. Not a whole lot, but a little more than you would think, considering if this is supposed to be, praising the wokedom. It kind of didn't. Now, one has to wonder, because we know there were massive reshoots for this movie. And so what was the original take? Was it really bad? Was he getting his balls kicked and all and stuff like that? I don't know. But I guess some of the letdown is that it is more of Marvel Universe movie, not Doctor Strange in that aspect. He's not sidelined or anything, but he's fighting Wanda. He's not fighting Nightmare. He's not fighting Mephisto. Kept expecting him, but the people in charge don't know about it. Some people working on WandaVision and stuff obviously knew the character and were putting little Easter eggs in it just for the purpose of Easter eggs. Don't know if there were any in here. There has to have been. I just didn't catch it. And seeing it again, it probably and can study it more. But yeah, that kind of thing where you get some of Doctor Strange's world, but not a whole lot. It's mostly in service of the MCU, but it doesn't really do anything. It just says there's a multiverse, and he got to go look at it, and now he's back home. And it doesn't really change anything. Whereas, at least the Spider-Man movie, it changes it where nobody knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So that's something, I guess. But this one doesn't really do much. If you wanted to do a reset, that sort of thing, where because eventually, depending on how long this thing can go, I would suspect you recast Iron Man and all that, and it's some sort of time warpy thing, and you start again. But as far as any possibilities for that, it's not demonstrated here in this film. So where they're going to go, there's rumors for ultimately a Secret Wars type scenario, and probably a combination of the original and then the later one. The later one was interesting, but that was sort of the last gasp of Marvel. After that, it became the all new, all different Marvel, and it was horrible. It pretty much killed the whole mythos of it, and it's never really recovered. But well, what are you gonna do? So I would rather it be more in tune with the original Secret Wars. But probably if they did something like that, where the whole universe is collapsed into one planet, and they have this war, and then it bursts a whole new universe, and then they start recasting all the stars and stuff and start over. Maybe they would do that. But anyway, That's about it. It's just sort of middle of the road reaction for me. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it that much either. So, which is very disappointing because the first one was a really good movie. So I don't know what the third one will be. The third one probably won't even be a full-on Doctor Strange movie either. It'll probably be like introducing the Defenders. They'll have Silver Surfer show up, and Namor, and the Hulk might show up again, or it'll probably be She-Hulk by then. I don't know if they'll even let him have the Hulk. But that, that was the Defenders that Doctor Strange led. Something like that. If that at all. Maybe they'll actually give him a third film to just, and they'll write that version of Doctor Strange off. And he can fly away into the multiverse sunset. But anyway, there you go. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.